Alright, in this video we're asked to write a class called a grad student. It'll extend the other class student through inheritance. So here's a little bit of detail that we need to know about the student class before we actually get into typing up the code for the grad student class. Um, okay, so we're going to be extending this class. A student has a name, such as one for a freshman and four for a senior, for the year, and they have a set of courses to what kind of classes they're taking. So as you can see, the private fields in the student class are the name, the year, and the set of courses. So we set up a student based off of their name and the given year, and then we have a method here which will add the course um, to a student's schedule. And then we have a method that will drop all courses, which basically means that the student is withdrawn from the quarter. Um, Get course count will return the number of courses the student is taking. Get name will get the name of the student. Get tuition will get how much money the student owes or has paid per year. Ooh, that's expensive, but that's college there. And it will also have a get year method, which will return what year the student is in. Like, are they a senior, a sophomore, so forth. So, these bullet points are basically the things that we will need to keep in mind when we're writing the methods for a grad student class. A grad student will keep track of a research advisor, which is a professor working with the student. Grad students are considered to be 4 years further ahead than typical students. So, for example, a grad student in year 1 of grad school is really of year 5 in the school overall. The get year method will return the student's overall year in school. So, for example, a third-year grad student should return 7 from get year. So that's a helpful thing to know. Grad students can enroll in a maximum of 3 courses at a time. There's a little constraint there. If a grad student tries to add anything beyond 3, we will not add that course. So the grad students pay tuition a bit different than the regular students. So if a grad student is enrolled in one course or no courses, then the grad student will pay a flat tuition rate of $500. That kind of bites. So if they're not taking anything or they're not doing anything, but they're technically considered a grad student, they still have to pay $500. But for one course, that's actually much cheaper than the 1,234. But I'm assuming that they're getting paid, and this is just considering the deduction from their payroll. If the grad student is enrolled in 2 or 3 courses, he or she pays twice as much as the normal student rate for all of his courses. Wow, that stings. That's 2,400. $69 there. Wow, that's painful. Um, yeah. If a student works too much, they tend to get burnt out. So how will we tell as to whether or not a student has worked too much? So if they're in their 5th or higher year of grad school, so if the get year method returns 9, the student is considered to be burnt out. Also, a student who takes 3 courses is considered to be burnt out. Alright, now moving on to the constructor here. So we need to create a constructor that has the name of the student, the year that they're in, and we need the name of an advisor. So we're gonna get the advisor our get advisor here, and we're going to check to see as to whether or not the student is burnt out. So remember, if they're in their 9th year of school, or if they're taking 3 courses, then they'll be considered to be burnt out. We're also making grad student objects comparable to other grad student objects. Students, here's another thing. If students have the same year, the one with the lower count of courses is considered to be less than one with a higher count. If 2 students have the same year and the same number of courses, then whoever advisor comes first in the alphabetical order is considered to be less. Alright, that's interesting. That'll help with our compare to method. And we don't need to know the rest of this part here. So let's get started. Okay, so public class, grad student. It's going to extend the class student, and it's going to implement a comparable interface. So it's going to implement comparable to other grad student objects. If I can spell that right. What's the thing that we want to keep in mind? Well, the only difference between this class and the other class is that we're keeping track of an advisor. We'll still have names and we still have years kept in fields, but the only new addition is an advisor. So our private field is going to just be private string, and it's going to contain the advisor's name, and at this point it's just set to null. So let's deal with the first constructor here. This will construct the grad student. There we go. And as we saw in the spec, we'll take in the student's name. We need their year, and then we need an advisor for them that they're going to work alongside of. So if you guys noticed from the student class, we have the string name and the int year. Okay, that's good. So it'll give us the name of the student and the year. So we'll just call upon that constructor. We'll take in the name and we'll add the year. But remember, grad students are considered to be 4 years further ahead than typical students. So we'll be taking the year and we'll be adding 4 on top of that. And then the advisor for this field is just going to be set to the name of the advisor that's passed in here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is let's see. We want to basically add courses here to the students. We're dealing with this little section here. Students can enroll in a maximum of 3 courses. So how are we going to do that? We're going to have to call upon a get courses count from this method here, which will tell us how many courses the student is currently enrolled. If they're enrolled in greater than 3, then we can't actually have that. So we have to make sure that they're enrolled in less than 3 courses. So add course. We're going to take in the name of course. And then this is where we want to test to make sure that they're actually within the boundary. The method is called, what is the method called? Get course count. Get course count. And we want to make sure that's less than 3. Alright. So if it's less than 3, then we can add a course upon that. So we're going to call upon the add course method from the student class. And that should be that for that for that little method there. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, add course. Yeah, that'll add the course for us. Okay. So let's check the next thing on our little bullet list here. So we've made sure that the courses are less than 3, because then we can add the class there. Well, just looking outside and saw my cat. Okay, so now we should work on the tuition. So remember, if they're enrolled in 1 course or more courses, then it's $500. If they're enrolled in 2 or 3, they pay twice as much. So we're gonna say public. It's gonna be the type double because we want to get the cents. Get tuition. So if we're gonna get the course count, so if that happens to be less than or equivalent to 1, then at that point we know we're just gonna say we're gonna return a count of $500. Otherwise, at this point, we're just going to basically double the tuition for them. So we're going to say 2 times, and we're going to use the super classes get tuition method here. So 2 times super dot get tuition. Okay, and before I move on, we should probably actually get the names of the advisors. So the way we're going to do that is we're just going to create a string method, get advisor. Yeah, because I believe that was down here. So get advisor, it's going to return the advisor's name. So because we reset our advisor in our constructor up here, we'll be able to access that by just returning advisor, and we'll get the new name of the advisor there. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so we need to check to see as to whether or not the student is burnt out. So if they're in their 5th year or they're taking 3 courses, then they're burnt out. So public boolean. Why boolean? Because we're returning true or false as to whether or not they actually are burnt out. So we'll check that. And remember our get year, because of our constructor up here and we add 4 to the year, our get year should return the appropriate numbers for the grad students. So remember, if the grad student is in their 5th year, otherwise known as get year is equivalent to 9, then they're burnt out. So we're just going to return the get year method, and if it's greater than or equal to 9, then we know that the student is burnt out. Or we also know that the student is burnt out if the course count that they're taking is greater than or equivalent to 3. And if for some reason they happen to have more than 3 classes, then they kind of overpass the add course thing. Okay. So last but not least, let's make sure we got everything on our list here. Yeah, we got that. We got tuition. Now we need to make the students comparable. Now remember, a grad student's object is lower if the year is less than the higher year. It's also considered to be lower if the count of the courses is less than the higher count. Or if we pass that, then it's all based off of the advisor's name in alphabetical order. So let's get started with the compare to method. It's going to return an integer type. Compare to. We're going to compare to other grad student objects. So grad student, other, that sounds good. So the first thing we test is we check to see if the years are not equivalent to each other. So get year. It's not equivalent to other dot get year. Okay, so if this is true, if they're different, what we're going to do is we're going to just return the value of get year minus the other dot get year. And that should be that. Okay. So let me go back to the spec here. So we've dealt with the case of the higher year. If they have the same year, but if one has a lower course count number than the other, then we'll check that. So the next case is, okay, what if they have the same year, but different course count numbers? Other dot get course count. So this is assuming that they have different course numbers. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to return get course count minus the other dot get course count. And that will return as to whether or not one student is considered to be more superior than the other. Then at this point, we know that we're just dealing with the advisors. So what we'll do is we'll just return an advisor, and because we're dealing with strings at this point, we're going to use dot compare compare to the other dot get advisor. and that will return which advisor comes before the other one, because compare to will check the indices of the characters that come at the front of the letters. And this is it for our grad student class. See you guys in the next video.